Okay, so part two of apparently TikTok is censoring people. I Again, I haven't tested any of this. I don't really spend any time on social media. I know that's weird for some people to comprehend considering how much I post here, but it's like literally I record these videos, I edit them, and then I set them to upload. And while they're uploading, I go do other work. I don't sit on social media all day. The only TikToks I see is whatever TikTok shows up in my feed while I'm uploading my own. And usually that's a Preacher of Valor TikTok or, oh, I don't know her account name. Someone who's a longtime friend, went to high school with. And I'll give those a like, comment if I feel like I have something to share. But for the most part, I'm just too busy to spend all day on social media. I need to finish these house renovations, which is why I'm wearing my work hoodie today. But uh, if you are watching this, you're probably a TikTok user. So let me know in the comments if your algorithm has changed or anything. One thing that I've noticed, or your For You page, one thing that I've noticed is over the past couple days, I've been getting a bunch of new notifications that I wasn't getting before from TikTok. I generally have like the vast majority of all my notifications set off for every social media platform. I hate the notifications where they're like spamming you. Hey, pay attention to this content from someone you've never heard of before, never seen before, and their content has nothing to do with the stuff you like. It's really frustrating. Twitter does that a lot now. And no matter how many times I'm like, hey, stop showing me this, see less often, it never appears to show it to me any less often. And over the past day or two, I don't know when this all went down. I don't really pay attention to social media that closely. I've got things in my own life I'm working on. You can see the fucking mattress. That's my bed. It's pulled apart and in the living room. I'm sleeping on the couch because I'm working on renovating the bedroom right now. So, like, I really don't give a shit about that's the box spring, not the mattress, technically. I really don't give a shit about a lot of the stuff that doesn't directly affect me. That's not to say I don't stay aware of it, right? Because if you live with your head in the sand your entire life, eventually the government's going to come along and ram something up your ass, and there's nothing you can do about it. So I do my best to pay attention to things and speak out on them when I hear them. You know, uh, I don't watch the news or anything because most of that is just rage bait designed to keep you addicted and propaganda designed to misinform you. But I do pay attention to anything that creates waves, if something's creating waves like the ice killings in Minnesota or the censorship of TikTok, then it's absolutely important. And I'll go and do a little bit of searching on my own. I used to do actual research. I just don't have the time for that anymore. Where I would crunch the numbers myself, I'd go download government databases on mass shootings and things like that and all that stuff. But all I was doing was spinning my wheels doing that, And the primary reason is because no one was paying me to do it. And being alive is expensive, right? So if there's ever a day where someone is going to pay me to do all those statistical analysis, yeah, I'll go back to it. But what's important for me is what I can actually control, right? I live in Pennsylvania, and I have virtually no ability to influence the politics in Minnesota, especially because, due to my understanding, it's a bunch of brain rot leftist politics. And that's why all this is happening in Minnesota. You know, on my stream, we were talking about it the other day, and I was like, why is this all happening in Minnesota? Because when you look at the statistics, there's a very, very small percentage of illegal immigrants in Minnesota. So the ICE raids there are going to be smaller than in just about any other state because it's so far north. But you don't hear about this shit go down in Texas or even California, which is also a pretty left-leaning state. And um, it's just, I think it's really the liberal brain rot politics. Now, to say that, they should not have shot that man. He shouldn't have been there in the first place interfering with law enforcement. But if that's his prerogative, okay, go do that. Get arrested for interfering with government officials in the while performing their legal duties. But when you watch the video, it's really scary because they disarm him while he's struggling with police, ICE officials, and then they shoot him anyways after they disarm him. And the guy that fired the first shot watched one of his own officers pull the firearm out of that man's holster and run away with it, and then decided to shoot him afterwards. Again, I'm not a lawyer, but it definitely seems like, at the very least, it's manslaughter. And I would personally argue murder in the second degree, you know? Anyways, that's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about TikTok today. And this coffee's better than I expected. Of all the bottom shelf coffees, this is my favorite so far. Aldi's has a great selection of mid-shelf coffees. You know, let me show you guys what I'm talking about real quick, just so you're generally these bottom shelf coffees come in these tins, you know. Actually, I don't even know if it was the Aldi one I've tried yet. I'll have to get that and try it again. We have the great value here, which was Walmart, right? And Clover Valley here, which is Dollar General. Of these three, this one is definitely the best. And I think I tried both Colombian and Classic Roast from Walmart. If not, I'll have to give the Classic or Original a try. I generally love Colombian, but honestly, both of those two tins, they were hard to get through. As far as like higher quality coffee, I don't know. Usually it comes in bags. That's not always true, though. This McCafe, pretty good. The best coffee I have right now is this Pete's. Save that for special occasions. But totally random tangent. I'm leaving it in. It's been a long time since I've done a random tangent like that, and it feels great, honestly. But I'm honestly truly surprised by the quality of this Giant Eagle coffee. They have a higher level of stuff called Market District that I would love to try, but when I looked, they only had whole bean of the, I guess it's still on topic because that's how all these videos started originally, was just me taste testing different coffees, you know. When I looked They only had whole bean of the original or house blend, I think they call it, on their market district. And I don't know where my coffee grinder is. I'm not sure if it made it in the move, but I would love to find that. And if I do, we'll definitely get some whole bean to try. Because the best way to drink coffee, in my opinion, is freshly ground whole bean in a French press. Now, I'm not going to make it in a French press because that's just extra steps. I'll make it in the drip coffee maker. But even just having whole bean coffee, it is a huge, huge upgrade. I don't know why, but it just tastes so much fresher. It's more aromatic. It's more expensive, right? Because like the bag is about the same size, and after you grind it, you get more out of there. But I can maybe do like one whole bean a month. We'll see. Back to the topic at hand. God, I wish I could just spend all day talking about coffee, but there's more important things going on. I find the TikTok censorship to be one of the scariest things our government has done so far. And it's just one of the little drops in the pond. Now, I don't believe it's technically owned by our government, but here's the thing. The government forced ByteDance, which was the company that originally owned TikTok, to divest itself from TikTok, which means to sell off its ownership, basically. Otherwise, they were going to ban TikTok in the US because they claimed they were primarily worried about Chinese manipulation and data harvesting, which are honestly legitimate concerns, especially considering that China has laws that says if they require it, any Chinese company has to turn over all of the data they own. They don't have privacy protection laws like we do in the US or Canada or the EU. It's kind of the opposite. There is no data privacy in those companies. But what scares me more is like, okay, so we have data privacy protection now, but little of that means jack shit, especially because the companies that are supposed to enforce this are the very ones breaking the rules. Something I want to talk about on another day, but I'm just going to use as an example, is specifically regarding copyright law. My last video got copyright claimed on YouTube because I'm working on leveling up my editing. Using a new app called Edits, and the primary reason is that it does those auto closed captions, making the video a lot more accessible to people. And I'm not sure if I specifically like the closed caption colors I chose. I'm not sure how to make them bigger. I want them to be bigger than they were. So maybe I changed the font. But I'm also doing a little bit of a rebrand with color themes in 2026. I'm going to redesign my logo. And one of the things I didn't realize is that that app automatically added a backing track. It was like some haunting, spooky music or whatever. And normally I'm fine with that. It adds a little bit of stuff to it. Like when I upload to TikTok, there's a music library that they have that it will often put a music thing. Instagram does the same thing. And I didn't realize that the Edits app did it automatically. and that instantly got copyright claimed, and whoever owns the copyright is a dick because they just nuked my video without even like any opportunity for fair use or whatever. But hey, it is what it is. It wasn't something worth fighting over, especially because I didn't even intend to include the sound in the first place. So I just used YouTube's tools to edit out the part that they copyright claimed, you know? But the reason it's so ironic is because all of these companies that are super anal about claiming my videos or any of your videos or anything that is uses copyright at all, even if it is absolutely 100% fair use. I've had to fight certain videos where I was doing an album review or something, and there's probably one coming up this week because I want to review the new Poppy album, and I'm sure that's going to get copyright claimed all to hell. But um, I've had to fight. Like I had a video where I was doing a review of the Drake Kendrick beef. And I listened to all those songs in the order they came out. And that got copyright claim to hell. And I submitted a dispute claiming fair use, and they ignored it for 30 days because they have the opportunity to do that, right? So what does that do? Well, it destroys the motion of the video. I think the YouTube copyright claim system is absolutely backwards, and they should have to prove a claim before they can get the video taken down, because it absolutely deletes it out of the algorithm if the video gets blocked for a while, you know? Um, but the reason all this is relevant is because those very companies that are shutting all your shit down because of things that aren't even copyright violations, that are actually fair use, are they themselves going and doing a whole bunch of illegal copyright shit that they know is illegal. And the primary reason is so that they can train their AI models, right? These AIs, they aren't, it's to call them generative AI is a misnomer because, and if you don't know, a misnomer is when something is named incorrectly. Like I think a strawberry isn't technically a berry. It's something else. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but it's something like that where it's like, we park on driveways and drive on parkways type things. You know, those are misnomers. Uh, to call it generative AI is a misnomer because it doesn't actually generate anything new. It just copies other things and remixes them, essentially. So that's why these AI companies need all of your data because they're just stealing it or harvesting it, if you allow them, to create copies of it to give to someone else to present as their own. So it's really insanely hypocritical. And all of these companies are being insanely hypocritical because in the case of TikTok, wrapping it all back in together, they claimed they wanted to divest TikTok from ByteDance because they were worried about Chinese manipulation of the algorithm and censorship. But the moment these American companies take over is the first time we actually see manipulation of the algorithm and censorship. It's just all a bunch of insane hypocrisy. And we need to speak out about it, right? As much as I'm busy just trying to rebuild my life right now from all the bullshit I've been through in the past 5 years and focusing on the things that I can actually change. You can't live with your head in the sand. You can't be silent when you see this type of bullshit going down. I am constantly getting railed from both sides because I refuse to just believe the leftist or the right wing propaganda. I'm doing my best to be a voice of reason and promote love when both sides just want you to hate the other side. This is not fence sitting. This is being radically different from everyone else, right? Not everyone else. There are other people that I believe are also doing their best to be reasonable. And some of them I kind of disagree with. One of my favorite channels that I absolutely love, I'd say two of my favorite channels that I absolutely love that are pretty much right in the same kind of libertarian vein that I am, just based off their content. I don't know this for a fact, are Oompaville and King Trout. Oompaville used to annoy the hell out of me when he was younger. He's like kind of tangential to some of the gun tubers, and that's how I discovered him. And back then, he was just loud and annoying as fuck. But he's grown up a little bit, and I really appreciate Caleb's content, especially when he's like talking about government conspiracies and all that stuff. King Trout, on the other hand, I only discovered him recently within the past couple of years, but oh my God, I absolutely love his kind of dry humor and stuff. Someone who is a little bit significantly more left leaning that I still really appreciate their takes is Hank Green. Hank Green is a science focused content creator. I think I discovered him through like the algorithm bleeding off of Veritasium and Kyle Hill. And he's definitely had some takes that I don't necessarily agree with. He gets worked up about a lot of things, and there was a recent video I watched of his where I think it had to do with energy regarding AI usage, where the guy he was talking on the video kind of called him out with that about like you kind of like take the most negative view or something like that. I forget exactly what he said. Just go watch Hank Green's recent videos. And I disagree with his take on the first Minnesota killing, the one where the lady in the SUV ran over the ICE officer, or ran into the ICE officer, to be more specific. But I do agree with something he said in that video, which is that we need to focus on the truth, and both sides are lying right now. So even if I might not agree with his specific take, what he was talking about in that video, and why is a science channel commenting on politics? Well, he was approaching it from the point of good science, which is how I approach everything. Even my spirituality, I kind of approach it using the scientific method, right? And he was talking about observable facts. And he was talking about the observable facts of the bullets that killed her went through the open window on the side. That's true, but there's also the observable fact that you can see from two different angles that she actually ran the SUV into the guy, and the first bullet went through the front windshield. Now, you can dispute the facts, you can discuss what they mean from different perspectives, but the important thing that he was saying that I was absolutely agreeing with him on during that video is that they're just lying about what happened, you know? The left is trying to pretend like she wasn't involved at all when she was literally blocking the street so that they couldn't do their job. And then when they arrested her or attempted to arrest her for interfering with a government agency, she ran her SUV into a law enforcement officer and unfortunately suffered the negative consequences of that. It's very sad that that woman died that way. The way that the right is lying about all this stuff is they keep trying to depict these people as domestic terrorists where they're not. They're unfortunately, I hate to say it, brain rotted idiots to be interfering with law enforcement in such a way. Apparently, Mr. Preddy's parents even told him not to go out and do that. They warned him that this would happen, but he was committed to it anyways. And I've said many times, I will always support peaceful protesters. And if we ever get to a point where violence is necessary, I promise you, I will be one of the first people on the front lines. But we definitely aren't there. And all of this unnecessary violence is actually only pushing us in that direction. It makes me so sad to see both sides being violent because they believe the lies, you know? January 6th was one of the scariest things that has ever happened in the history of the United States. And I am genuinely concerned about what's going to happen the next time that Donald Trump is supposed to leave office. I am especially concerned with all of this censorship that's happening now, the censorship on YouTube, the fact that TikTok is now being censored. There's a bunch of censorship that happens on Instagram. And, you know, Instagram is saying, oh, we're sorry. That was just our new AI bot censoring people that had a few mistakes. First of all, it shouldn't be in the hands of an AI bot to like entirely delete your video and account. That's just a lack of due diligence and accountability from these corporations. It shows you just how much they don't care about you. You're just cattle to them, no matter how much you have given to that platform. Because keep in mind, these platforms only exist because of you, right? As long as you keep uploading to them, you're supporting them. And the question is, of course, from that, why am I uploading to them? Why am I continuing to support the platforms? Well, the answer is because they haven't banned me for speaking the truth yet. And I do my best to walk in Jesus' footsteps. And when you look at the way he lived his life, he went and he had dinner with the sinners, right? I see this to borrow from the allegory of the cave. Posting on these platforms for me is kind of like journeying back into the cave to see if I can free anyone from their delusions and their chains that they love so much and show them the true light, the beauty of everything that lives outside of the cave. I understand that nuance might be lost on most people. There is a complete and utter lack of nuance in today's society, especially on the internet. But for me, it's important as long as the public is continuing to engage with these platforms to make sure I add my voice to the public discord. And I promise you, if I ever get banned off of any of these platforms for speaking the truth, I will only use that as fuel for the fire. So I just want to say again how insanely concerning it is for me that the whole point of divesting TikTok from a Chinese owned company was supposed to be so that they didn't psychologically manipulate people using the algorithm and didn't farm your data. But the moment that TikTok ends up in the hands of these American companies, they immediately start farming. I mean, well, we don't know if they've been farming your data, but I'm sure they probably have been. But on top of that, they immediately start adjusting the algorithm, and people that use TikTok have been claiming this so that it's more psychologically manipulative. And two, which is the most concerning thing to me, is they are censoring your DMs. You aren't allowed to talk about the biggest scandal that has ever happened in the United States in your direct messages with people anymore. This is why you need to delete Windows and Google yourself and de-Google yourself, because these platforms are constantly spying on you. There was a guy who got his Google Drive banned because he uploaded a picture of his son for the doctor to see because he had a rash or something. And this was during quarantine or soon after, when everyone was doing everything online. And Google was examining every single one of his uploads, literally spying on him, and decided that this medical photo was child porn. You need to realize that these companies are just using you as cattle and don't care about you at all. And if you're a content creator, it's very, very important to not put all your eggs in one basket, right? That's why I upload these videos to YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And if there's a new platform that shows up in the wake of all this insane censorship and greed, then I'll start posting on there too. I would love to build my own platform eventually where I could actually ensure free speech and data privacy, but we don't have that opportunity at the moment. Maybe 5 years from now, if the US still exists at that point. But it's extremely, extremely important to remain vigilant and to speak out when you see this kind of evil behavior, because all that is necessary for evil to triumph is for good people to do nothing, you know? So make sure you're armed and training. Delete Windows, de-Google yourself. I love all of you, and God bless America. Cheers.